Hello and welcome to another conversation. With me in observance of National Women's History Month is Miss Shuntoya Chapman, a licensed clinical social worker and owner of Holistic Counseling Services, providing quality talk therapy based in Augusta, Georgia. With me next is Miss Councilwoman Felicia Porter, a Baltimore City's District 10 representative. And she is definitely a go getter, you guys. She's also a strategic public health consultant. With us as well is Miss Roberta Moore, CEO of Amora Incorporated, a seasoned woman owned small business with the talent to meet public and private sector healthcare needs, among so many other things. They are also celebrating 20 years of service. And lastly, Miss Judith Davis. She's a life coach, a multicultural and DEI professional, having lived in multiple continents. Welcome, everyone. How are you, ladies?
Great.
Hi.
I want to start with Miss Shuntoya Chapman. Shuntoya, whose shoulders are you standing on with respect to National Women's History Month?
Wow. That's a great question. And one in particular that I want to talk about, her name is Farah Edwards. And what makes Farah Edwards so amazing is she was a pioneer, African American, in social work. And unfortunately, going not to HBCU, I was unaware until I started doing my research. How
Okay.
disheartening. And Farah Edwards, she was born in Houston, Texas. She grew up in the Jim Crow era. So you can imagine some of the obstacles and challenges she faced as a young woman,
Absolutely.
especially in the field of social work. And also, her grandparents were enslaved, and they decided to take a chance on freedom. And that's how she and her family moved to Chicago. And that's where she started her career in the field of social work. And what makes Farah Edwards so amazing that not only did she didn't stop at social work, she was a lecturer. She was a women's rights advocate. She was a labor organizer and a journalist. So I mean her list of accomplishments is just amazing for a woman of her time and era. So I think to me she is the epitome of black girl rock, right? Black girl
Absolutely.
magic. And so, yes, she is it. And she did all of this before the age of 40. So
You said
that's
be-
powerful.
before the age of 40?
Before the age of 40, she had all those accomplishments before the age of 40.
You know,
That's amazing.
that's something that's truly a phenomenon that has always amazed me. How young a lot of these historical figures were. So many of us we're on the shoulders of so many and deeply indebted to so many people, women in particular. And I think I shared with you ladies earlier, I am still somewhat a mama's boy, so I'm a little biased when it comes to women and the history of women, their accomplishments and achievements and such. So thank you so much for sharing that. Miss Porter,
Yes.
I would love to hear from you. We would love to hear from you with respect to what woman comes to mind, one of the first women that comes to mind, with respect to National Women's History Month.
So the first woman that comes to mind whose shoulders I am standing on is actually my mom. She represents so many Black and persons of color, their moms, and how not only they instill values into their kids, but also just being my number one supporter. My mom and dad have been married for over 34 years
Oh, wow.
in the city of Baltimore, in a time
Baltimore.
where at a time where, you know, they could not pursue collegiate education. And my mom actually worked 4 jobs in order to put me through school, in order to really instill a better life for me and my brother. And
Oh
when
wow.
when I ran for office, she was the first person that I told. She says, make sure you do it right, make sure you do it with excellence, and make sure you do it with consistency, in order to secure a gainful and fruitful future for your people. And so growing up, my mom just always instilled that in me. And so, you know, when I think through how many parents instill those types of values within their kids, within their you know, their family members, I'm often reminded that every single day we have people that are making history. And I always try to highlight, you know, parents that are making the history every single day. We often think of history makers as people that are lofty and out of reach, but there are people making history every single day. And so my mom is actually whose shoulders I'm standing on right now.
Wow. That's awesome. Ms. Moore, who would you like to share with us?
Well, it's Deborah Scott Thomas, Colonel Deborah Scott Thomas. And so she owns Data Solutions and Technology. And she penned Colonel while she was running a $30 million company. She's the mother of 3 sons. And I started my company, and she had a contract with DIA to build up the infrastructure for Baghdad. Well, I was HubZone certified, and she said she wanted to work with me. And at the time, I was working with another company, and I offered them the first right of refusal. And my boss at that time said, no, he wasn't interested. And Deborah Scott Thomas said, I want to work with you. Aren't you HubZone certified? And I said, yes. And she became my mentor. And so I made enough money off of the DIA contract that I was able to leave from working for another business and work for Amora full time.
Oh
And
wow.
yes, Deborah Scott Thomas has a husband. He was also in the military,
Okay.
and she didn't lose her femininity. She built her company. She with the GSA schedule. She's ISO certified. She's CMMI level 3. She, you know, facilities clearance, top secret facilities clearance, and all of that. And she just continued to give back and help others in the community. And I'm indebted to her because she gave me her whole back office. She gave me a contract at EPA where they had my name on the door, my company name on the door, in the
Okay.
Lincoln building. She also gave me, I think it was DOE. Yes, that was one of her biggest customers. So she gave me a conference contract for DOE. So this is a woman that pours into people, and she's hands-on. And so she's basically my professional mom.
Oh wow. You know, it's ironic that you use that title. I think I heard that for the first time just 2 or 3 months ago. The professional mother. Well, specifically, that's what the young lady said, professional mother. But no, that's just such an awesome space and place to be, in this case, title, you know, professional mom or mother. Awesome.
Thank
That's
you.
one. That's one world of a story. I may have to circle back with you
Mhm.
at another point, as it relates to, you know, certain business matters, if you will. Awesome.
Thank
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Miss Judith Davis. Talk to us. What
Absolutely.
lady comes to mind when it comes to Women's History Month, whose shoulders that you are standing on?
Absolutely. It's 2 of them, but I'll start with my grandmother, who's no longer with us physically.
Uh-huh.
However, her being is around everything I do, around everything I am, and even I catch myself doing and saying things to my children that she used to say to us. This woman gave birth to 8 children. And yet, when Ethiopia and Eritrea were waging war, she had to leave everything that was near and dear to her and to her heart and pretty much leave. She had to leave with whatever she was wearing and couldn't pick up anything else and couldn't worry about anything else. And she just took my youngest uncle, who was 5 years old at that time, and my cousin, who was only 3 months old, on her back, and she just took off. She didn't know where she was going.
And I
She
want to make sure I have the right young lady up.
the other one.
I
Yes.
I thought
Yes,
so.
this one right here. Yes.
Okay.
She didn't know where she was going. She was on foot. She didn't know where she was going to get food for the baby, for my uncle, for herself. She kept marching on horses, on donkeys, on carriages, you name it. And she did that until she crossed the borders to another country, which was the Sudan at that time.
Oh
And this
wow.
was in the early 80s, in the late 70s, early 80s. She didn't speak the language. She didn't know. She barely finished middle school. She didn't know where she didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring. She didn't know what the next hour was going to bring.
Wow.
But she was incredibly fearless and incredibly courageous, and she was strong, even though she may have been scared. She was, by the way, she was under 35 when all of this happened, right? She had her
Wow.
children young, she was married, all of that stuff. But she even if she was, if my 2 minutes are up, even even if she was scared, she didn't display any of that. She
Right.
didn't she didn't show it. She was being strong, not only for those two she was caring, but for the entire neighborhood. And then 2 years later, she left the Sudan and she got a visa to go to Germany. She had never seen snow in her whole entire life. She didn't know whether she was supposed to wear the boots and the coat and the socks, and she didn't know what on earth. And she just got there, and she was strong. And then later on, myself and my other cousin joined, and she had three and a half kids to take care of. And she did it. She somehow mastered broken German, and she did whatever she had to do to feed us and to set us up for success. And she just said to us, don't speak Tigrinya, don't speak any other language, speak German, so you can be as good as they are or even better and be successful. And here we are.
Wow. And
Yes.
here we are. I just love hearing stories like that. Wow. Okay. I want to hear some more stories. I'm going to go back to, well, I'll start from the beginning. Miss Chapman, Toya, you got to give me another lady. I know you have another special lady that has created some history. Talk to us.
Yes, of course, I must put the spotlight on my mom, the person who carried me in her womb for 9 months. I am her eldest child. I
No?
have two siblings. And let me tell you, this lady is short, but she is dynamite, okay? And I chose this picture here of her. She was in her 30s, and she was just joining a local labor union at her job in a manufacturing plant. And I felt like this spoke just so much power and just demonstrate my mom just being a person who want to advocate and believe in the importance of equal pay, because that was the issue at the time where she was working.
Okay.
And the staff was underpaid, the employees that were underpaid.
Mm.
The CEOs of the company were making money, they were very wealthy, but those on at the bottom of the totem pole wasn't receiving the benefits. They didn't have retirement plans. The conditions of their workplace, it was tough. And so my mom joined the local union. And when I saw this picture for her, and a friend of hers gave it to me to give to her, and it caused her to have tears. She said, "I remember that time,"
Oh
and I
wow.
just remember as a little girl going with her, attending those meetings. And I remember one time Reverend Jesse Jackson came all the way down to Georgia, to Louisville, Georgia, because they
Yes.
was having a rally
Okay.
for that union, and he came and spoke. So that was my first time seeing a celebrity. I was like, Reverend Jesse Jackson in Georgia. So that was awesome. And they went to Louisville and did a big rally
Wow.
there. And so that was powerful. It just spoke volumes. And because of my mom, she didn't get a college education, but she pushed myself and my two younger siblings, who also are college educated women,
Absolutely.
and she pushed us, to dream big. don't let anyone tell you what you can't do as a woman. And she's like, know that you're a force to be reckoned with. Don't let anybody limit you.
Yes.
And there's just so much about her that I can speak, and I'm just proud to say that I'm part of her legacy.
Wow. I mean, hey, with all of that, I got to shine her one more time. I got to give Mama some more pub. Come on,
Yes,
Chris. I'm
yes,
slipping. Oh no,
yes.
that's awesome. I love that picture too. And what I noticed the first time I saw it was that Waynesboro, Georgia, in the back.
Right.
See, everybody out there, I know, a couple of guys that are watching, right? Our homeboys and homegirls. Just that Waynesboro, Georgia thing just does something to me. And hey, Tori, I got to do this too. Waynesboro, Georgia, the bird dog capital of the
There
world.
you go.
Hey,
Humble beginnings.
hey,
Humble
folks are like,
beginnings.
wait, bird dog capital, what?
Bird dog capital. That's what we're known
No,
for.
no.
Uh-huh.
Thanks for sharing your mom with us. Another beautiful story. Again, this
Thank
stuff
you.
just oftentimes it just gives me chills listening to what so many of these amazing women endured, overcame, put up with, as we say back home. But no, it's just awesome hearing these stories, and again, it's just so motivational for me. So let's hear from Miss Porter.
Yes.
You have another historical figure that comes to mind, female
I
figure?
do. I do. So Victorine Adams was the first Black woman to ever represent on the Baltimore City Council, and so it was a force to be reckoned with. She actually served in Baltimore for a number of decades, and
Oh,
she definitely started some of the philanthropic change that we see today in the city of Baltimore. So we're talking about the Baltimore City Fuel Fund, which helps many families with energy assistance within the city. That was primarily started and catalyzed by Victorine Adams, and being the first Black woman to represent South Baltimore in 2018. She is a person that I stand on the shoulders of the perseverance that she
hmm
has enacted in the city of Baltimore, the steadfastness, the efficiency, the impact of local government every single day. And so in my role as a city councilwoman, I stand on the shoulders of Victorine Adams, and unfortunately, we have not paid, we have not, how can I put it? We need more women that serve on the city council and
Right,
local government, so that
right.
we are getting the issues that Ms. Chapman just talked about: equal pay, making
Mhm.
sure that we have equitable conditions in our workplace.
Yeah.
These are the local change makers that did it at day in and day out. And so I stand on her shoulders, serving in my position, but also in hopefully future positions in other aspects of government.
No, absolutely. Wow. And you mentioned something about 2018 was the first time. What? That I want to make
So
sure I heard that correctly.
yeah, so for South Baltimore has never had an African American woman serving the district that I represent. And so 2018, I was a history maker by being the first African American woman to serve in this position, but also being the youngest to serve in this position on the city council.
So now I need to put there's a little egg on my face, and let me quickly
Okay.
explain because
No,
for those who don't know, I live in this district and I did not know those fun facts. Shame on me.
no, it is
Uh,
okay.
but for the record, everyone, I did support her and I was there. Right, Councilwoman, was I there?
You were there. You were one of the first people I talked to. I remember. We
See,
met. We met at a cafe, the local
see,
cafe.
I, I'll pay you later. That's what I'm talking about. Exactly. But no, congrats to you again. You're doing
Yes.
such an amazing job. And that's the thing too. That's the thing. As we walk through this thing called life, we are creating our own history. right? And I want to kind of piggyback on that a little later. But first and next, we want to hear from Miss Moore. Miss Moore, will you share another female historical figure with us, please?
Yeah, so the other female that I'd like to pay homage to is GI. Her name is Michelle Gardner Eames. And she's basically, she works for the Osnabu office for VA, but she's a retired Air Force colonel as well. And she just pours out of herself into others. And so I was a part of the Vet Biz Ladies Genesis cohort, which was a program of 29 veteran-owned businesses, women, and it was all women. In that cohort, GI actually, she was the head of it, and she actually poured into us. She took care of us. She reprimanded us. She nurtured us. She did everything. She went above and beyond. And if you would have seen our information with our plaques, our names, you would have thought it was something from the presidential inauguration.
Yes.
You see that our name tags and all of our memorabilia was. I mean, she really went out of her way and put her heart into it.
Right.
And from there, she's a top voice on LinkedIn. She's a mother. Her father was in the military. He was an officer, one of the first Black officers. She dealt with discrimination as a child, and she talks about that story where all the children were supposed to go and have ice cream. They called them up, but they told her to go home because she had to have ice cream at home. And from there, she took that and she poured it into getting into the military herself.
Wow.
And she's had budgets of, multi-millions that she's had to take care of. And to this day, she's my sister. And so she will take me along. Anything she's doing, even as a top voice on LinkedIn, she's one of the first ones to beta test the radio, voice feature that they have.
Wow.
And she makes sure that I'm there. Anything that's going on, if there's something going on, she's going to mention me in a room that I'm not in and make sure that, look, I want you to be a part of this. And so it's women like that give so much of themselves, that have experienced so much. And she didn't lose her femininity. She had male dominating positions. And she never lost her femininity. She's still married to the same husband. She gives him respect. She has, her children. They've honored him publicly, and he's always there clapping for her and pushing her ahead. So she just set such a great example, and I want to just talk about GI today.
Yes. Look, I can foot stump everything you just said, and I'm glad that I know her as well personally. She's just amazing. She's seemingly everywhere.
Absolutely.
I've kidded her. I joked her from that, like, what, like, you're over there too doing that in that capacity? I mean, she has a lot of reach because not only does she know a lot of people know her. And there's a little difference, right? And when it comes to making that part happen. But thanks so much for highlighting GI. She's just a treasure. Awesome. Miss Davis, we need to hear from you. I think I kind of inadvertently segued to the young lady that you were going to talk to next, but can you please share a little bit about her? And I need to get her back up.
Absolutely. This young lady, who is not young anymore, is my aunt, my mom's younger sister. She built on what my grandmother started when, right there, she was 17 in this picture. She was 17 years old.
Okay.
She's still beautiful. She built on what my grandmother started. She took me in when I was 10 years old, and she was only 22 years old.
Wow.
She raised 3 children when she was a baby herself, and she is the epitome of resilience.
Mm-hmm.
of courage, of fearlessness. Same thing. She just built on that, and so she came to Germany, didn't speak the language, and she just said, "You speak the language, and I don't, so you're going to teach me." And every night she'll say, "Show me this and show me that, and teach me this and teach me that." And then she mastered German, and she finished high school, and
Wow.
she got several careers, and she built a business so that she could take care of us, so we didn't have to be without a parental figure, right? And then she moved to the United States and did the same thing, serving the community, serving her family, serving her husband, taking care of him. Lived through several hurricanes and a lot of traumatic events, and she never wavered. She was always very strong, very resilient, always serving her family, even from she was over here in the US and we were still in Germany, and she was still trying to take care of everyone. But
Wow.
she also was the catalyst for us, the women in the family, to realize that at some point you can't just keep serving and serving and serving and then emptying your tank. So
Great point.
she became a generational cycle breaker, right? She said, enough. We have to show grace to ourselves.
Wow.
And by doing that, we teach others to do the same for us.
Yeah,
She
wholeheartedly agree.
she taught us girls in the family that it's great to be strong and to serve your community and to serve your family and to always feed everyone who comes through. And at some point, it is okay to say, I can't do it today.
Ah, yes.
That was a game changer. And I said, wait, but you taught me we're supposed to be like this. And she's like, and it's okay to teach yourself to say, I can't do it. And then I watched her tell others that they too must show grace to her and those who work hard on a daily basis and
Yeah.
appreciate it and verbalize it.
Wow.
So that
Wow.
was a game changer for me. Phenomenal. To this day, when I need advice, I call her when there's something not right and I don't want to talk about it. I'll know if I call her, she'll bring it out of me.
Yeah.
And we can't be super women every day, even though we are. But there are times where we have to say, you know what? I'll take that cape off for a
Right.
minute, and I'll
Right.
go get my tank refilled by talking to someone who's picked up on how to do that.
Our counselor here, yeah, she can talk to that 2 times over. That mental aspect of things, it affects so much because
Yes.
you're right. It's just women are just so innately. I grew up around a lot of women.
Yeah.
Okay, aunts and female cousins. I mean, the list goes on and on. My mom in the center of it. My grandmother in the center of it for so long prior to her. But yeah, I can totally
Yeah.
attest to the cape thing. It's on like seemingly all of the time, but there comes a time
Yep.
you gotta let it go.
Yes.
Yes.
And I look, I don't want to get Miss Chapman preaching about kind of hey catching it. What can you touch on that right quick, Toya?
Sure. Well, it's important for self-care. And,
Mhm.
I think the pandemic and all we was experiencing kind of made that a very like word that people start to use, and
Right.
it became a common term. And it's so important because we need balance. Yes, we can, like you say, stand up and we can be proud and we can help and we can
Mhm.
serve and we can minister and we can support and we can teach, but and care. Yet, like you said, we can't continue to pour out and don't have anyone pour it back into us.
Right.
And
Right.
so, in order to remain effective, we need that balance. And self care is so important. And like you say, having those boundaries, saying no even when it
Boundaries.
hurts,
Yeah.
even when it hurts, because it's hard when you like you said, when you're a strong woman and you're used to caring for others,
Hmm.
and that becomes common practice, it's difficult to say no.
Mhm.
Right.
And I have women that come to me in therapy about that.
Yes.
It's difficult, and they feel like they're letting people down when they say no.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
say, "Oh, no, you trying to preserve yourself. This is called self-preservation. You
Mhm.
must say no in some circumstances, okay?"
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yes, self-care
Yeah.
is very important.
That's it. No, that's the phrase. Self care is so all encompassing. It looks so many different things. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that with us, Toya. So I need to, I have to, and I'm going to respect you ladies' time. We've been on here for a minute, but I'm just thoroughly enjoying the conversation, and I can't thank you ladies enough for pouring out, giving us, divulging the information that you have thus far. But I do want to circle back and expound on the fact that we are all, but because this is Women's History Month, you are all living history, right? You're walking in history each and every day, writing your own story or stories, if you will. But what I want to know is, how do you want to be remembered in the midst of all of that? And I pose that question to every panel member, and I'll start with Ms. Chapman again.
Okay, yes. So I guess I want to be remembered as the person that didn't take no as the final answer. And because I know that if I continue to persevere and push forward, I yes will eventually come. I realize in my journey of life, there's seasons. There's seasons for growth. Sometimes there's seasons that you need to be still and patient and wait.
Mm.
And so I just always try to embody, like, okay, you told me no, but I'm going to find a way. I take the no now. But while you are thinking that I'm done,
Yes.
I'm just researching and I'm waiting because I'm coming back with more information. I'm coming back empowered. And I'm like, now you're not going to be able to deny me. So I just want people to remember that I was a person that didn't take no.
Wow. I like that. I like that. Yeah. Straight to the point, but it says so much. So much. Miss Porter, Councilwoman, what say
Yeah.
you?
So I want to be remembered to remind people that elected officials and public servants are real human beings. Oftentimes we kind of put elected officials and public servants on a sort of pedestal and celebrity, and through my tenure as councilwoman, I am changing that narrative. I'm very upfront about the challenges that I experience every single day, with regard to my self-care, with regard to my mental health, with regard to my boundaries, with regard to, taking a step away, and taking care of myself so that I can take care of the tens of thousands of people that are under my purview and
Right.
and my guidance. And so I often remind people that, we are human. We put our pants on one leg at a time, but I often, through that experience, I show people that you can be a public servant as well. It's
Right.
not something that is outside of your reach. It's not similar to what Ms. Chapman was saying. It's not something that, I'm gonna take that no, but I'm gonna come back more empowered. And Chris, you know this about me. I'm gonna come back more empowered with more information, because again, we need to dispel this whole, especially as Black people and persons of color, we need to dispel this whole narrative that elected office is outside of our reach. And so I'm proven example that it is within reach, and it is something, if you put your mind to it, you definitely can make it known and make a difference. And Chris can attest, when I first started coming out, there were many people that would not talk to me.
Right.
They would not believe in what I was trying to do for the city of Baltimore, for South Baltimore. And now it's something that, like, Ms. Chapman was saying, they can't deny me now. So
Right.
they have to talk to me. So
Yes. Yes. And yes, I can personally attest to everything she just said. She is. Some folks are just from a different cloth, right? When you walk in your purpose, though, that's what it looks like. So, and I'll leave that there. Thanks, Miss Porter. I appreciate it, Councilwoman. Ms. Moore, what story, what from a historical perspective, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as against all odds, because I am one of 8 and we came from humble beginnings. I am the only one in my family with an advanced degree. I'm the only one that owns a business. And I started my business as a recently divorced woman of 3 sons. And my youngest was 3 at the time. He's 23 now. And
Wow.
I started a business with 3 young children. And so, and to stay in business for 20 years, and it has not been roses or peaches and cream.
Mhm.
And so, against all odds, because like Ms. Chapman mentioned, there are seasons in life. And so you could be high, riding high today, and then tomorrow things take a turn for the worse. What do
Absolutely.
you do during those periods? And so I poured back into myself. I went back to school. I did things to improve myself during the process while it was slow.
Mhm.
And so it was just against all odds. I had everything going against me, and I continued to do it. So I want people to look at me, and not just women. I want young men, because I have 3 sons. I want
Yes.
to be an inspiration to them, that regardless of your circumstances, regardless of where you come from, you can make a difference. Like, you can break those generational curses, or you can break things, and you can be the change maker for your family. And
That's right.
so that's what I want to be known for. I want people to know that they can do it. I want to be an inspiration.
Whew, you ladies get me hype over here. I'm over here, and I'm actually holding myself to stay calm. I'm being calm. No, this is what it's about, and we can sit here and say, how we want to be remembered, how we would like to be remembered, or what have you. But if you're not walking, in what you're talking, and being that example, being that model, and you're not gonna, you may get people's attention, but you're certainly not gonna keep it. And it just seems as if, I mean, you ladies, part of the reason why I wanted you guys on this panel, because I know each and every one of you in some manner that speaks to just charting your own course, and exuding leadership and bringing folks along with you. So anyway, let me get off of my soapbox. Whew. Miss Davis, Judith, talk to us. How do
Yes.
you want to be, or how would you like to be remembered?
It's it's interesting. I like that you asked this question, because years ago, when I took this multicultural, multilingual exposure that I've had during the course of my life
Mhm.
into the professional arena of working in the diversity, equity, and inclusion field, when it became a thing in the US, right? It was a little oxymoronic, but I said to myself, I'll give people examples in workshops or when I facilitate. Hey, if the untimely was to meet you, if you were to go and they told your family they only have money to put one word on the gravestone, what one word would come to mind? What would everybody say, right?
Mhm.
So by saying that, I wanted people to think about what is their legacy. So
Yeah.
bringing it back to me, diversity, equity, inclusion is what I do for a living. However, that's also who I am, and who I, what I embody. Pretty much, it would be an insult to my grandmother and my aunt if I didn't take everything they poured into me and everything they exposed me to and use it to make a difference in the world, to be a world changer. They have been told no in many different languages, even though it sounds the same in most languages, right? And still they say, okay, fine, let me just go the other way and come back and ask you the same thing. So tenacity is another thing, right?
Yes.
I frequently hear the words like, oh gosh, you're just such a hard ass, you never give up. When everybody said it's done, I said it's not done until the bus leaves, so let's try to get on board, right?
Exactly.
So I won't go away. I live in Arlington County, the most privileged, whitest,
All of that, yes.
all of that, right? So I was told many times, you can't do that. oh, you can't buy a house. I was like, okay, let me just quietly go away and make it happen. I'll just let you know. The problem is I don't never listen to people who say no. So that, right? So the tenacity, the being a world changer, the being an advocate for those who are marginalized, who can't speak up for themselves, or who can't help themselves, because
Right.
there's so many barriers that impact us, right? I've watched two women who didn't have degrees, who didn't have a formal education, who didn't have iPhones, who didn't have Nike tennis shoes, cars, you name it, street, trains, make the impossible happen, and move across oceans, and create a life for the family, right? So I say to myself, I speak three languages fluently, lived all over. I have all these things at my fingertip, the Googles of this world, the iPhones and whatnot. What is my excuse? I can't give up.
Right.
So that's that, right? All of those things change the world, adding value to those who can't help themselves or can't do for themselves, and being tenacious and speaking up when others think you should be quiet, because who's going to tell me I can't speak on those things I'm trying to make happen for others and for myself.
Yes. 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 And I will say, Miss Davis, I have been in your presence when folks attempted to hush you,
Mhm.
and it made you speak even louder than I think you planned to in the first place. So I'm sitting here listening to this, each and every one of you for that matter, and have been a part of certain conversations in a way to, in essence, validate what you're saying. So I'm sitting here like this is so cool. That was just the first word that came to
Right.
mind. And I say again, hearing stories from subject matter experts that are so passionate about their chosen profession, and planning to do even more, right? Really, again, exuding leadership, walking what you're talking, bringing people along, mentoring folks, trying to never leave people behind. Kind of one of that each one teach one kind of thing at the same time. And each and every one of you embody that and more. Again, that's why I was so excited to have you guys a part of this panel, National Women's History Month, talking about some of these things, everything that you share, especially as it relates to the historical women in your lives whose shoulders you stand on. It's just an awesome thing to me. I really appreciate you ladies showing up and again being transparent and divulging the information that you did. I really appreciate it. And I'm certain a lot of people that are going to check this out, they are going to be very appreciative as well. And I want to blow everybody up so everybody can just see this a little better. Before you had stuff to say, now I want them to see you. So look, everyone, in all seriousness, I hope this has been as inspiring and as motivational to you guys as it was for me. I always learn so much when I host and conduct these type of conversations. Just a lot of meaningful information, at least it is for me, that's so informative and inspiring at the same time. I thank you guys for continuing to support us, but you got to make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to do that. But I thank you guys for continuing to support lifewriting.com, where writing speaks.